Hola, ¿qué fas? Welcome to part 2 of this short documentary series. The Mascarat Beach is located behind the Altea Marina, within the Serra Gelada Natural Park. It is a beach with fine pebbles, which has ample parking, a beach bar, restaurant and lifeguard. It is a naturalist beach, so it is common for you to see naked people on it. But I'm sorry to disappoint you. I won't be including video proof of this fact. It is a cove that has a very easy exit for both kayaks and paddleboards. From here you can navigate to the north, to the Sierra de Trois, or to the south, to the Olla de Altea. In summer, it is usually full of large ships and sailboats. The most interesting thing about this beach is the rocky ledge at its northern end, where we can see Posidonia meadows that are home to a multitude of life. We are often able to observe the typical fredis, bream, mojaras, slugfish, holotheria, and if you're lucky, some starfish. From here, we start our walk through the ravine and up to the infamous El Mascarat. On the border between Marina Baixa and the Marina Alta, there is a small canyon that some compare to the Colorado Canyon. Well, I believe that this would be a slight exaggeration, but I'll let you decide as we take the interesting hiking route through the Mascarat Canyon. The so-called Mascarat Canyon, or l'Estret del Mascarat, is a gorge that runs through the Barranc del Salat, between the Sierra de Bernia and Sierra de Trois. The ravine was the channel that the water found to reach the sea, specifically the Bay of Altea, crossing the limestone rocks and taking advantage of the geological presence of a fault. The canyon route is short. In fact, the canyon is about 700 to 800 meters long. We must bear in mind that we have to add to the extra 2-kilometer round trip to where we started on the coast. So the route can be a total of about 2.5 to 3 kilometers. This route is included in the Mascarat, or the Morra de Trois geological path, which was created by the Altea City Council, recovering, signalling, and improving a route that starts at the Barra Beach, runs through the Barranc Salat, and on to the Mascarat Strait. On the information panels, we can read the legend about the name assigned to this place, Mascarat. It relates that a road or path ran through the strait of the ravine before the construction of the bridges. It is said that at the time there was a bandit, known as El Mascarat, who assaulted and robbed those who passed by. Apparently, his face was painted black with smut, to hide his identity and possibly his face that was said to have been covered with leprosy. According to legend, after the decree of the expulsion of the Moors in 1609, a strange-looking man who wandered alone without saying a word to anyone appeared in the surroundings of Collado. The residents of the nearby town soon nicknamed him Mascarat, and numerous rumors about the state of his mental health began to circulate. The natives thought, due to his clothing, that he was some Moorish leader who was either fleeing so as not to be captured or was waiting for the perfect moment to organize a landing. But of course, this is nothing more than a legend passed down from generation to generation, and we don't know how much truth there is in it. Some historians believe that the term does not come from any fantastic legend, but is linked to the Iberian word macas, which means cut stone. Taking the path and entering the canyon, we will see first of all before us the old bridge of the N332, the most beautiful without a doubt. Walking a little further along the path, we can see the three bridges that cross the gorge over the ravine. The old bridge, the new bridge of the N332, and the bridge over which the Alicante tramway runs. It is impressive, once you cross under the first bridge, to look up and see the location and the impressive engineering work of the bridges crossing the strait. If we turn around and look towards the beginning of the route, it is also surprising to see the enormous span and beauty of the construction of the old bridge, which dates from the end of the 19th century. A little further on, after passing the old bridge, we see how the canyon begins to narrow, with which the following two bridges are shorter. After passing the new National Bridge, it narrows even more, and if we look up, in addition to seeing the tram bridge, we see a huge rock wedged between the two walls. Every time I pass underneath this rock, I'm reminded of the story in the book Between a Rock and a Hard Place by Aaron Ralston. A true story that is well worth the read if you haven't heard of it. The James Franco movie 127 Hours is the film adaptation of this book, and I imagine more of you will have heard or seen that one before. At this point, we begin to reach the end of the gorge. The walls get closer, and it is where that certain similarity to the photos of the Colorado Canyon can emerge. But as we said before, you have to have a lot of imagination. Here, we can observe the beauty of this area of the gorge. With the walls with shapes acquired by years of erosion by water and by geological movements. A few meters away, the passable area ends, and although we can see how the crack between the mountains still continues, the pass is no longer possible, and we will have to retrace our steps from here. As we walk back through the gorge, it is almost impossible to imagine the sheer amount of water that must have once passed its way down through this valley, causing its creation. But the pathway that the water will have taken down to the Mediterranean is very evident. In fact, it is the same path that we walked along in order to get here. All that was needed to cause this was a little water and a lot of time. Well, a lot of water and a huge amount of time, more like. Last year, we had a bout of torrential rainfall so bad that this riverbed became completely impassable for a few weeks while the water began to flow down this old trail. It was so bad, in fact, that the next time I walked this route, I realized that the flow of water had removed gigantic rocks, as well as plenty of trees, and launched them into the sea. The power of the newly recreated river was so fierce that it even took a fair portion of the car park and beach that we began this trip on. It took a lot of work from the council to repair, as at the time, you couldn't drive into the car park due to there being a large portion of the road missing. In summer, it is not unusual to see thrill seekers and those into extreme sports bungee jumping off the second bridge in order to swing through the archway of the now disused first bridge. An impressive sight, but not something I will be willing to pay money to do. I'm happy to keep my feet planted on solid ground and view the spectacle from a safe viewpoint. Well, that's all from me today. A very short documentary this week. But the journey continues next week as I delve deeper into the hidden history of this fantastic area of the Mediterranean coast. I hope you can join me and get to learn something as we go. But for now, I wish you well. Hasta la vista,
baby.